Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Pioneers in Payments. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Elias Ghanem from Capgemini, all the way from France.
Good morning, Donna. Good morning to you, and good afternoon to the speakers out of France, as I am joining you from Paris.
Thank you so much for joining us here. So looking forward to our conversation. We've had a few conversations leading up to this, and I know you have some great material to share with our viewers. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started by having you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, your background in the payments industry, and the work that you do at Capgemini.
Donna, I would say, 25 years old, veteran in payment field. I started my career with Visa across Latin America, US, and Asia, where my last job, I was running Visa Consulting, driving the consulting engagement with all the banks across Asia. Then I moved to PayPal for almost 4 years, where I was I was the managing director for PayPal in Southeast Asia. That's Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, India. And then I've been invited to launch PayPal into the Middle East. So I launched PayPal in the UAE, in Saudi, as well as in Egypt. From there, I got the virus of the startups, and I left PayPal to launch a fintech between Dubai and Singapore. We called it Teller, T-E-L-R, and we made the point of saying that the teller is the guy you most hate in a bank. He has the power of no. We will have the power of yes. And to make your life so easy, we even reduced our name from 6 letters to 4 letters, Teller. Ran it for a few years, and then joined after that a coaching organization to focus on scale-ups. I really believe that while startups are a super fun idea, they don't really collaborate well with large organizations unless they are scaled, they have scale. And that's why I wanted to focus on the scale-up ecosystem. Did that for a few years, enjoyed helping several entrepreneurs scale from one market to multiple market, one product to multiple product. And then I joined Capgemini the last 5 years, where I was running the fintech ecosystem for Capgemini. And then for the last few years, I've been the global head of the Capgemini Research Institute for Financial Services, basically the think tank of Capgemini Financial Services that build the point of view on the future of banking and insurance.
Wow, you certainly have a wealth of experience, and I'm so grateful that you're here today to share some of your insights with our audience. So typically we talk about everything that's happening in the industry, from trends, opportunities, challenges, and I know that you have some research to share with us here, but why don't we start off about talking about the most notable trend that you're seeing in the industry today?
With pleasure. In fact, I'm seeing several trends, and we'll talk about it more in the details when we come to trend. But for me, there's one major trend that is getting us out of COVID is digitalization. By all means, now it has become the norm to talk digitally, to transact digitally, to buy digitally, to send back digitally. And this is the norm. And now the abnormal is when you go to the restaurant. It becomes an adventure to go to the restaurant, as well as become almost a non-event to go to a branch bank. We don't go to the branch bank. We take anymore our credit card in the hand. The card now is embedded in the wallet, or even the card has disappeared and it's completely transparent, invisible as we do payment. So for me, if there is one major trend, is digitalization from my day-to-day life to my payment experience, transaction experience, insurance experience. And the funny part, to finish with a joke, is for me, the car has become and is becoming the place where I do most interactions. And cars are becoming so autonomous, so digital, with such a big screen. And the best example, of course, is Tesla, that a lot of car manufacturers, as well as financial services, as well as retailers, are building a new experience that I could deliver through my car.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It is, and now they even have self-driving cars, which I still don't understand, but it's coming. It's the future. Um, so, Elias, would you mind sharing a little bit about what you've learned from research on what you see as the largest opportunities in the industry?
Let's focus, as the industry of banking is quite significant, let's focus on the payment side. And in fact, we are just releasing our Payment Trends Books 2023, which you could see on the screen now. And if you are, I'm going to give you some highlight about it, but if you are more interested, you have the QR code that you see on the screen. You just have to take a picture of this QR code and you will have a detailed on the trends. What we are seeing this year into the trends, we are seeing 5 macro trends, which you could see on the screen. You can see changes in the industry dynamics. A lot of things are happening within the payment industry and as an entity, but also at large. Many new players are coming to play. We are also observing all the financial services players and the payment looking to create and enable new values that come with all what we've been hearing about payment as a service, about data monetization, and so on. And we'll get into details of that. The third macro trend that we see is customer centricity. As mentioned earlier on, during the COVID period, we were locked at home and we compared everything we were able to do from home. And the digitalization between traditional players and new players shown the biggest gap. So customer centricity is bridging the gap of digitalization and engaging better across physical and digital channels. The fourth one, which has kept many people awake at night, is business resilience. How can we go through the waves of problems? We had this COVID, right? From one day to another, everybody locked at home. Imagine the IT service. Imagine the customer service. Imagine the branch service. Imagine the retail services that need to keep the lights on in a very short time frame. So business resilience, how to handle that. And now we are in a geopolitical crisis. We are in a market crisis. All that require people to build the right resiliency. And finally, let's be optimistic and project. What are the new horizons? So these are 5 macro trends. And in our trends books, you could see them across wealth management, retail banking, and payment. And then if you're okay, I can go more now into the payments to drill into that if it does make sense to you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Let's do it.
So what we have done here is you can see now on the screen the top 10 trends that we see across payments and across this 5 macro category that we have observed earlier on. And for me, what is the most important, each time I meet with chief executive officers in the payment industry, they tell me, don't tell me everything is important. Help me prioritize. And that's why we made the efforts to go through the top 10 trends, and we created a priority matrix that has really 2 levels. On one side is, what would I get the highest business impact, most dollars from my return on investment? And the second one, which one should I adopt as a priority? So for instance, if you look at the matrix, we have number 4 that is at the bottom left. It doesn't mean that it's not important, far from that. It is important, but really the impact that you will see in 2023 is limited. The impact of the CBDC, central bank digital currency, in 2023 would be limited, though it's important to have it in mind, to start getting to know about it, invest a little bit on it. But if I look now on the other side, and if we look at trend number 3 and number 7, 3 being about the entire wave that is coming with the ISO 20022, essential to build a very data-driven ecosystem. And then the 7th, which is about the what we call it payment hub. There are so many new payment solutions that if you don't have a payment hub where you can plug in, plug out, you will have problems evolve with the new solutions. So for us, implementing, leveraging, a growing ISO 20022 is a must, and then have a payment hub that is not a patch on what you've had before. The biggest danger is, we are observing that a lot, payment companies do patches. The problem with patches, at some time, they fall apart.
Right.
And then what you do, you buy a bigger patch, and then a bigger patch, and a bigger patch, but they will fall apart. And we really believe that it's the time now to do a major transformation in Payment Hub, put it in the cloud, put it completely microservice, completely API driven, and leverage the ecosystem around.
Very good. I think that's been the trend, right, for the last several decades, is just to patch. And you know, we kind of think of those as almost like Frankenstein systems, right? You know, you attach an arm here and a leg there, and what you end up with is very disjointed and yeah, lots of band-aids. Well, so those are some of the greatest opportunities for 2023. What would you say is the biggest challenge for organizations that process payments?
For me, the biggest challenge is, I would see three kinds of challenges: the customer as a challenge, the regulator as a challenge, and or an opportunity, by the way, and finally the new players. And let's go one by one. Customers. We've been so much used now to seamless experience, transparent payment, embedded payment, and finally what we call direct to consumer, where an IKEA of the world or any large player in the world, retailers, hospitality, travel, airlines, and so on, has completely embedded the payment into what they do. While before, payment was a stop. You would do whatever, and then you will come to the payment page or to the checkout at the point of sale. Now the payment has disappeared and must disappear. It has to be completely embedded. And the payment players who will do it best will be the one that will own the share of wallet and then share of mind. Regulators, well, regulators are catching up and becoming more and more digital savvy. So digital ID. Today, there is no way anymore you would have to apply physically in a store or in a bank for a card. The entire card application, card engagement, card signature has to be digitalized. We're seeing also more and more regulators promoting digital ID, where I don't need to anymore sign, anymore put my social security number. It could be my thumbprint, it could be my eyes. And players need to adapt to that and make sure that while they protect the privacy of the customer, they enable transactions. Regulators, to continue with regulators, are more and more enforcing sustainability. Sustainability in payments means no statements, no physical statements, no plastic being issued, a reduction in consumption of electricity, reduction of the weight of the apps, and so on. So the players need to adapt to all this wave of sustainability. And the last one are the new players. Well, the new players, we can't avoid to talk about the Amazon of the world, the Google of the world, the Apple of the world. And if there is one that really worth mentioning is Apple. Apple having buy now, pay later already, having a POS, this is becoming a POS, and now it's making the customer directly, not needing anymore a POS to transact. And they are issuing more and more cards. They are linking to more and more accounts. There will be financing transactions and so on. So the combination of customer expectation, regulators oversight, and new players makes a very complex journey, but exciting, if I can put it this way, to the payment players.
I agree. And so this is kind of a segue into the next question. We've talked about some of the top opportunities and the greatest challenges, but what would you say would be your silver bullet piece of advice to payments organizations?
Leverage the data. If I can put it in a very single word, in my days at Visa, I was engaging a lot with clients, banks, and telling them, guys, you have all the data. You should know me better than my doctor and my wife. Why is that? Because you would know day after day my financial situation. And from my financial situation, it has an impact on my health and it has an impact on my household. And use this data for the right purpose. Help me if I am an individual, finance the education of my children, finance my home dream, manage my financials, educate my children. All that are important. If I am an SME, a small medium enterprise, help me bridging the complex months, help me aggregate the information, help me process faster the data so I can come up to something. And if I am a large organization, look to my business on a global point of view. Financial players or payment players have all the data. They use it by all means for risk assessment, and it is essential, right? Will Elias pay at the end of the month? This is very essential. But what if they use it also for customer engagement,
Yes.
for customer centricity, for customer delight, and talk to me each time that I need something from you? And we did a survey at Capgemini. We asked customers across all age, all gender, urban and rural, across the globe about their willingness to share data. And you would be surprised. We came up with 78% of people willing to share data, only if they will share it. By the way, they will share it with their financial institution. They will not share it with everybody.
Right.
The trust factor is huge. And they will share it only if they have a benefit. And what I mean by that, if I were to ask you, Donna, if I would like to track the way you drive your car because I am your insurer. And if the better you drive the car, the lower will be your premium. Would you be interested to share your data?
Sure.
Okay. But if I tell you, Donna, I'm going to track your driving, and if you misbehave, I will increase the premium. Would you be willing to share your data with me?
No, thanks.
Right? So that's the whole point. Customer centricity is rewarding the right behavior, but not going against the wrong behavior, right? Wrong behavior is the starting point. Right behavior gives you a premium. So to all the payment players, use the data that you have to know me better, not only from a risk, but from an engagement perspective.
I like what you said about customer delight. I've been reading a lot about, where the direction of the industry is heading, and there's so much focus on basically adding value. So for consumers, how can you enhance their lives, make their lives easier, right? And for businesses, how can you help their business thrive? So really, it is all about providing that value, right? And the
We call it
organizations that do well at that are going to really shine.
We call it take care.
Take care.
Provide care to your customer.
Yes.
In terms of making sure that you have the right reach, the right channel. You and I do not interact the same way with our financial institution. You and I do not have the same family structure. We
Right.
don't have the same means. We don't live in the same areas. We don't have the same financial education.
Yes.
And there is so many data points today to identify where you are in the financial education stream, where you are into your household financials. What is your dream job? What is your dream house? What is your dream destination? I don't need to ask you all that. People like you have expressed their interest, and by aggregating data, you're able to define really the person and delight Donna by telling her, we know about you, not to be the policeman. We know about you and we can whatever, but at the opposite, we are here to help you.
I love that. Very good. Well, to kind of wrap things up here, I was wondering if you would mind sharing with our audience how they can learn more about the services that you provide at Capgemini.
By all means. Well, what we do at Capgemini is we are really here to help all the banking sector and insurance sector digitalize all the processes. And as such, we have our consulting team, we call it Invent, that will help our clients think through what's next. But then what I always like to say is there are fantastic consulting firms outside that will always tell you what is next. And then when they tell you what's next, they stop. And we at Capgemini make sure that once we tell you what's next, we make sure that we can implement what's next, because our next job is implementing what is next. And we need to be careful that we really pass the ball very well between the one who thinks what's next and the one who will do what's next. So we have consulting, then we have implementation, and then we have operation. We call it business services, where we can operate on your behalf. And to narrow it to my shop, to help to support all this, what's next, how to make next, and how to operate next, we have the Capgemini Research Institute for Financial Services that produces all the thought leadership of Capgemini. And then you will have the link, so you can look at the link and where you can find all the data points across banking and insurance, in banking across wealth management, retail banking, payments, and on the insurance side across property and casualty, life and health. The objective for us is really to provide insights to the C-suite, to decision makers, so they can make the right decision today that will impact the next generation.
Very good. Well, it sounds like you provide all of the services that are so needed in the industry today. So I just want to thank you so much for your time here, Elias. This has been very insightful. I'm sure our audience will really appreciate the resources that you're providing as well. I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank everybody for watching today.
Au revoir.